What's it all about? Why are we here? Is there a God? What happens when we die? In this series, I'm talking to public figures about these questions. Like me, few of them claim to be religious experts, but all of them have, at times, had cause to think about the meaning of life. Jane Seymour, actor, writer, painter, screen legend. It's an honour to be sitting here with you in Dublin for the meaning of life. Do you believe in God?
I think I believe in God in my own very unique way.
Okay.
I do not belong to or have any affiliation to any organised religion, but I absolutely believe that there is something greater than all of us. And I also realize that we are specks in the universe. and I do believe that we all have spirits.
Okay.
And I feel the spirit, whether you call it the spirit or the soul or whatever you call it, is part of who we are, but this body is like a vehicle, like a car. And our spirit is within. So whether you speak to your spirit within or in the universe,
yeah.
For me, I see what would be thought of as God in the beauty of nature, in the universe, in the good of people. So I see God in a different kind of way.
Your childhood, was that,
yes.
Was there religious formation there, just to begin with that angle on it?
I'm the eldest of three girls. My father had survived World War II in the RAF. His family, a lot of them had been murdered. They were Jewish in Bergen-Belsen and Treblinka. My father actually opened the gates of Bergen-Belsen and found three of his cousins, one of whom afterwards couldn't live without her family, who'd all been murdered, and so she took her own life.
Oh, my God.
So he met my mother after the war. My mother had had a completely different experience. She was Dutch Protestant, as most Dutch people are, had lived in Indonesia on a tea plantation and had had a very abusive marriage and had escaped from that, only then to be incarcerated for 3.5 years in a Japanese internment camp, because she was a Dutch native, and women and children and boys under the age of 12 were all put in these camps. So she was in the camps for 3.5 years, survived that, found her way to England, met my father, and so I came from, I suppose, a family of survivors.
Wow. Your mother, Mika, she's in a Japanese concentration camp, effectively.
Basically, yeah.
Insofar as you could ever answer this question, how did it affect her?
Almost all her friends that survived, all of them decided that when and if they ever survived, and if they ever had children, they wanted their homes to be open to one another, if they were ever lucky enough to have that. And so, as a young child, my sisters and I, we used to have a rail pass, and we'd go to all these places in Holland, and there would be her Catholic friends, her Protestant friends, her whatever. I mean, these were, and what we all had in common was our mothers had all been in the camp together. So she used to say that if you can accept the unacceptable, open your heart and reach out in some way to help someone else, you would have purpose. And that's what she did in the camps. She nursed all the way through the camps. She had a little bit of Red Cross training, and she helped other people. And so that was who she was. And so I think that really impacted us growing up. You know, our house was full of people, and my mother was always helping, and my father always helping other people. So that was what we grew up with.
But on another level, what did your mother think of those who imprisoned her, the Japanese?
Well, that's a very interesting question, because she was terrified, obviously, during the war. And after the war, my father said that she would have nightmares and literally scream and just have the most terrible, terrible nightmares every night. She could not look at anyone or anything Japanese. And my father's great love in life, of course, was Japanese art. He loved Japanese art. All he wanted to do was to visit Japan. So eventually, I think in 1970, my mother decided she was going to brave it and go. And she got on the airplane And I've never forgotten it. She said, darling, I looked around and these weren't the same Japanese. These were different kind of people. And she fell in love with the culture. She fell in love with the people. You know, inexplicable, horrible, horrendous things happened during the war. My parents saw it, but they both were able to forgive and move forward.
And how did it affect your father? That image of him arriving at Bergen-Belsen and discovering that his own relatives had been there and most of them had perished, the effect on him.
Actually, before he died, I was asking him about his life. I said, do you remember what's like the most important thing that, one of the most important things that ever happened in your life? He said, watching you filming the selection sequence in Auschwitz.
For War and Remembrance.
War and Remembrance. Yeah. He said, that just reminded me of everything, of Bergen-Belsen, of what happened to my cousins, what happened to my family. And he said it was so important because he didn't want the world to forget that had happened.
How did that affect him and his religious beliefs?
My father had no religious beliefs.
Okay.
He was raised in a Jewish household. So there are a lot of Jews who are cultural Jews. They don't actually believe in God, funnily enough. But they do believe in their culture.
What were the values in the house? Were they open to...
See, what we did is my father and my mother wanted us to experience all religions. Okay? So my father was a doctor in a part of London where there were a lot of Indians and Pakistanis. Those were most of his patients. And he wanted us to learn about all religions and then choose for ourselves.
What were you like as a child, Jane, with all these fantastic influences and openness around you?
Oh, there was food galore from different countries. There were people from different countries. We were putting on plays, which my father would write, or they would write. And we were always performing and dancing and singing. And it was a very creative environment.
Did your father and mother, they obviously had values. Were they rooted in, what, the Ten Commandments? Or what would the...
I would say their values were spot on to the Ten Commandments, absolutely, yes. I mean, they just didn't call them the Ten Commandments. I think I used to hear things like, do unto others as you would most like done to yourself. I would hear my father say, you can only ever be your own best.
Your own best.
Your own best.
Yeah.
And, you know, and my mother really instilled in us that purpose was everything and forgiveness was everything. And that you had to learn to love yourself, because unless you could love yourself, you couldn't possibly give or receive love.
Were you interested, for example, as a child, in your father's profession?
Actually,
which
yes.
Reached the top of, yeah?
I did actually watch surgery from the time I was 10.
No.
Yes. I was allowed in to watch surgery. I think I saw...
And you didn't faint or...
No, because when I was very little, my father never wanted us to be afraid of blood. So I grew up in and around hospitals. I had a microscope at 7. And of course it helped for Dr. Quinn, because by the time I did Dr. Quinn, I knew that my father's pet hate in life was watching television and watching Dr. Kildare or whatever television show was about a doctor, and realizing in the first minute that A, he knew exactly what the ailment was, and B, they did it all wrong. So when I did Dr. Quinn, I said, okay, we are going to talk to the Smithsonian Institute. We're going to do this right. So we did. We actually did it right.
Well, let's go into your career then. Did you want to be an actress from?
No, I wanted to be a ballerina. And I got spotted as a dancer in a movie when I was 17 by Richard Attenborough and his agent.
And then you got the role in the Bond movie.
After a bunch of other roles, but yes, and I got the role in the Bond movie when I was 20, and then I was sort of dubbed Bond Woman. But I was playing a virgin, and because I'd been so well brought up, I was sort of the last of a dying species. You know?
And then when Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, came at a really welcome, is that the best way, time in your life? What was...
Well, I had been married to a man called Flynn, nice Irish name, and had 2 children with him. And he was one of the top business managers, one of the top financial consultants for people in show business.
Okay.
And one day I realized something was wrong, and I found out he'd been unfaithful. And at which point I found out that he had lost all my money, left me $9 million in the red. And so I was penniless, homeless, had 2 kids to take care of, and called up my agent and I said, look, I have to work yesterday. He said, what do you mean? I said, anything.
Yeah.
I will do anything. And he called all the different networks and said, Jane said she'd do anything. Do you have anything? And one of them said, oh, we have something that starts tomorrow, and she could do it. It's called Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. And I read it, and I fell in love with it, and I started the next day. And then it became a huge success. We were in 98 countries. I think we still are. I mean, I met President Gorbachev, who literally was like kissing me, go, oh, Dr. Quinn, Dr. Quinn. And I believe that my interpretation of God gave me that gift at that time. And I think it is pretty extraordinary that exactly the moment that I needed something to save me emotionally, financially, and in every way, was literally given to me on a plate. And isn't it uncanny that my father taught me medicine? My father had me medicine my whole life. My father's belief system was very much, you know, the way Dr. Quinn was.
Yeah.
Why was I given that gift? So every day that I'd go on the set of Dr. Quinn, I'd kind of look up and I'd go, thanks. We called him Papa P, it's a long story, but...
Papa P?
Yeah.
But you say thanks to your dad?
I'd say thanks to my dad.
Yeah. Tell me about the experience when you were on a set and did you nearly die or did you die, Jane Seymour?
Apparently, according to the doctors, I did die. I lost my life. I was playing Maria Callas in a movie about Onassis. I was in Spain, in Madrid at the time, and I called production on the Saturday. I said, look, I'm really not well. I think I need to see a doctor.
Okay.
The doctor came. He said she needs 2 weeks rest. They said, no, we need her Monday. So they decided to give me an injection of an antibiotic. They went away, the nurse came to do it, male nurse, he injected me, and immediately I knew something was wrong. I got what's called anaphylactic shock.
No.
So basically, what I remember is my heart started racing, like really, really fast, and then it went dead, silent. And before that, it was like, something's wrong, and then it was peace, the most amazing peace, like in a full meditation. I saw the white light. I thought, gosh, you know, that's very compelling. And then somehow I looked down and I realized I was looking down and I could see me. And I just said, whoever, whatever, please let me get back in my body. I want to raise my children. That's all I could think about. And I always tell people this, that, especially wealthy people, you take nothing with you, okay? You take with you the love you've shared in your life, not necessarily, you know, a marriage or it's like any moment where you have connected with another human being, that there was a real sense of connection and love and the difference you've made. And that's it. That's what you take with you. I realized that, you know, you take care of this vehicle. This is like a car. You know, if it needs an oil change, you give it an oil change, and you don't give it bad petrol. You give it the good stuff if you possibly can.
Okay.
Meanwhile, your spirit, who is who you are, needs to be taken care of too.
And you've no fear of death?
Well, it doesn't hurt.
Okay.
It hurts those you leave behind.
Yeah.
And I don't want to die. No, I'm grabbing onto every moment of life, you know, as much as I can.
And well, take us then to the open heart.
So,
And that,
yes,
the jewellery you're wearing, that's all from the hand of Jane Seymour.
All from the hand of Jane Seymour, yeah. So I designed this one necklace.
Just hold that for a sec, because a broken heart is an open heart. And when you hold the symbol, there's sharp edges on that.
Yes.
And curves. And there can be very sharp edges in life.
Exactly. And so this really represents the ability to move through life and be able to deal with challenge, and at the same time realize that by helping others, you will help yourself. That's basically what it comes down to. So,
but how does the open heart deal with catastrophe, Jane? You mentioned about discovering not just that your husband had a different life, it seems. Wasn't it? How do you deal with that catastrophe?
Well, I have a friend who says stuff happens. Stuff happens. And my mother, you know, who said, you know, in life there will always be challenge. Depends on how you look at it. No one comes out of this alive, and no one comes out of it scot-free. You know, some have it worse than others. But how do you deal with that kind of, whether it's betrayal or it's health issues or it's a loss or, you know, it's always one of those, right? You have to accept it. And the hardest thing in life is acceptance. That is the hardest thing you can ever do. And if you can accept, then you can open up. Then you can let others in. You can share what you've had to accept. Maybe they are now trying to learn how to accept it. So you can share your wisdom, or at least your compassion, and maybe you can help them. And they, by helping them, they are helping you. So that's what the open heart means to me. Is
forgiveness a big part of your life? That seems to be, because you keep talking about your exes as if they're present.
I've had to let go of stuff. I cannot live in the past. I cannot, you know. So I was betrayed in whatever way. I choose to look upon keeping the good moments, the children we had, the love we shared. And you know what? I'm friends with all of them now.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I spoke to my most recent ex-husband yesterday at great length about our children. And the other ones had a lot of health issues, the one that lost all the money, and he's never been able to say sorry.
But do you think he does need to say sorry?
It would be nice, yes. But the craziest thing happened on my 70th birthday. His daughter, our daughter, Katie, contacted all my friends without me knowing and said, is there something, a memory you have of Mom, or something you want to say for her 70th? And her father said, listen, I want you to play this for your mom, and listen to it. John Denver wrote a song called I'm Sorry. And my daughter and I sat there and we listened to this thing on our iPhone. And we both literally had waterfalls of tears. And we looked at one another, and it was like the whole thing washed away. I mean, it was, oh my goodness, that is the only way and the only time that he knew how to say he was sorry. And I'm crying now thinking about it, because how hard it must have been for him to not be able to say it. Hard for us to have to live with it, but, you know, you have to let go. Really hard to do. But I choose to remember the love that we shared. And now we're all together as a family again. Isn't that crazy?
And do you believe in the afterlife?
I don't know. I mean, I saw a white light. I don't know where it goes to. I was never given that story, but I have many friends who do, you know, believe in it.
You believe in angels?
I believe that angels, as defined in the dictionary when I looked it up last, are messengers. I do know that when somebody does something for you and they don't even realize the impact it has on you at that precise moment, that to me, they are an angel. They they've done something that they had no idea. They did something, but they don't know how profoundly it impacted me. So I feel that you can ignite the angel within.
Okay.
Okay, so I think what we're getting down to here is everything godlike and spiritual out there, or can some of it reside within our own spirit? And we just have to find a way to tap into it and allow it to do the good things that we know are written about in many cultures. That's, if I have to explain it, that's how I see it. And having actually separated from my body, I know that the spirit, the soul, the spirit of who I am, the essence of me is very much currently, inside this body, but could quite easily not be here. But it will continue in some form, I believe.
And Jane, what has challenged you most in life so far?
I would have to say betrayal. I don't do betrayal. I just don't do it very well. And the problem is that it will manifest in me as a fear of abandonment. And then if you fear abandonment, then you kind of set it up so you abandon before you're abandoned. So it's a nasty little cycle. Highly unrecommended. Unrecommended. Betrayal has been really hard for me.
Forgiveness?
Forgiveness is what I have to do to survive. If you can't forgive, you can't move forward. And I have to forgive myself. The hardest thing in the world is to forgive yourself.
But you don't blame yourself for those betrayals, for example.
Well, yes, you do. What do you do?
Why?
Because you ask yourself, why am I not enough? Why does somebody need someone else? Why not me? What's wrong with me? Did I do something wrong? Did I say something wrong? If I'd done something differently, or why didn't I notice? How stupid was I not to know when everyone else knew? I mean, you can come up with a million reasons to get depressed and angry and hate yourself. I mean, it's very easy to hate yourself. It's much harder to love yourself. And I think what you have to do is you have to turn it on a dime and you just say, you know what? Maybe that person has a problem. Maybe that person doesn't deserve me. Maybe I picked this person for the wrong reason. And maybe I have enough within me to be happy. I don't need to have another person or that other person and their issues and their problems in my life. And so then it's letting go.
What are you most proud of so far?
I don't know. I'm a work in progress. I mean, I'm still trying. I don't know. I'm proud of creating beautiful children who are loving and thoughtful and have really great morality and who care about others and who will make a difference in the world. That is something I'm very, very proud of. I am proud of being able to not hang on to the negative and to be able to move forward in life. And I'm a walk-the-walk person. So people say, do you practice what you preach? I said, I'm not preaching, I'll just walk. And if you like my walk and you want to walk along there with me, fine. But I'm not going to tell you you should. I'm not going to make you do it my way. That's just what I'm doing for me. It works for me. If it works for you, as you would say, grand.
Grand. Do you believe in heaven and hell?
No, I don't really. I believe that, well, how do you define heaven? I mean, I know people that, and are you the age you are when you die, or are you a newborn baby? Which part of your life? I mean, do you have a body, or are you a spirit? I do believe the spirit exists, the soul, the spirit, whatever that is. I do believe there is a higher power. So if you want to call it God, absolutely. There is something definitely greater than me or anyone I've met. God is there to show us how we can love one another and help one another. And so, and love. Love is everything. Love is, as John Lennon says, love is all there is. It is about love. And there is so much hate that comes from people's very specific following of a doctrine.
Yeah.
What I can't stand is that it has been used as a weapon of hate and of, you're not the same as me, therefore you die.
Well, medically you died.
Yes.
If you do get to the stage, which you will, we all do, the stage where you do die and you go to the pearly gates, if they're there, what would you say to God?
I would say, please do me a favor and stop people from killing one another in your name. And if I am worthy, or you think I'm worthy of being in this environment that I might be invited to, I won't let you down.
Well, Jane Seymour, thank you for opening your heart and talking to us about the meaning of life.
Thank you.